Hey lovelies, it's Alex here. Today I am jumping on to follow up from last week's video where I talked about, a lot of things. I talked about how some of these sort of well-meaning inspirational posts that remind us of why being present for our children is important and that the time flies by, while all of those well-meaning posts freak me out and stress me out and kind of induce guilt and stuff like that, because being a mother is super difficult. And I talked about the complexities of being a mother, all the feelings that it brings up, the journey that it takes us on, and how all of this is totally and completely normal. And then I talked about one of the reasons that it is so difficult to make all of this mothering, count and to do the best that we can. Why it's so difficult is basically because for many of us, we're rushing around and we're lacking what we wish so much for, which is quality time. And I talked a little bit about that and the overwhelm and the stress and the frantic living. And I'm going to dive into that a little bit deeper today, but I'm starting off today with a list of the stuff that pisses me off about modern mothering experience. So here's my what really pisses me off. Stand on my feminist soapbox little spiel. Okay, so this is what came out when I wrote an email that I sent to my community on Monday. What really pisses me off? So here we go. I'm reading from the email. It pisses me off that just when us women start to educate ourselves and enter the labor force, majority of our partners don't reciprocate by stepping into the domestic sphere, leaving us overwhelmed and exhausted as we end up carrying both loads, the domestic and a breadwinning role, and too often like all the cognitive and emotional load related to parenting and managing a family. So that's the first thing that really pisses me off. And I'm going to circle back to that in a bit with some statistics. The second thing that pisses me off is that just when sort of the science of parenting starts to take root and we start learning about child psychology, we start learning about the importance of, eating well and organics, we start learning about stimulation for babies, we start learning about all these things. Instead of it empowering us, instead of society giving parenting more status, what ends up happening is we end up feeling like we have to do just one more thing or 1,000 more things, and we can't because of what pisses me off, point number one, and we start feeling like we aren't doing or being enough. And so that exacerbates the overwhelm and the stress. Okay, so that's the second thing that pisses me off. The third thing that really pisses me off is that because we're so overwhelmed and stressed and often resentful and doubtful of the choices we make, this is what happens. Instead of standing together and supporting one another in our choices to either be professional, work out of the home mothers, or stay-at-home mamas who aren't contributing financially to the family, we judge each other, right? And I think that underneath that is this feeling of they're better than me, I'm doing it wrong, guilt. Maybe you feel guilty if you're a stay-at-home mama for not contributing to the workforce. Maybe you feel frustrated and a little bit jealous that she's financially autonomous, or that she's progressing in her career, or that she uses her brain in a different way, or that she has adult conversations. Like, I've totally been there, I totally get it. And maybe if you're the working mama, you're a little bit jealous because the stay-at-home mama gets to spend a little bit more time with her kids. She gets to know the teachers in the school better. She gets to know the parents of her children's friends better. Or, she gets to, be at home more often. Like I miss, when I was working, I actually missed being at home a lot of the time. So, there are so many different things that the grass always looks greener on the other side, but instead of us standing in the field together and holding hands over the other side of the fence, we end up kind of looking at each other and with sort of secret jealousy, but externally it comes out as judgment. So that really actually more than pisses me off, it makes me sad, because divided like that, we will not get anywhere. The biggest thing, and this is kind of a combination of factors that piss me off, is the stress and the overwhelm and how that results in us being less of who we are. So this is the big picture stuff. You know, we feel exhausted, irritable, resentful, frustrated, guilty, self-doubt, we lack self-confidence. All this sort of stuff, well, it stops us from being us, and it stops us from stepping into our power. And worse than this is where the combination of factors gets even more muddled. Worse than this is the fact that our children see this, watch this, it's becoming their reality, and it's becoming their truth. Okay, so they see us women doing this, and so unconsciously, they may replicate it, all right? And I know that I've seen my friends replicate their patterns, and I know that I sometimes end up replicating patterns myself. So I just, you know, that's really what worries me the most about the whole thing. In addition to us losing so much in quality, meaningful moments that we could have if we learn the skills and the strategies to you know, ditch the overwhelm and manage the stress and speak up for ourselves. If we learn to model balanced and more joyful and spacious living to our children so that they would model that as well, then all of this could just shift. And I really think that all of the above, all these factors that totally piss me off, and I hope piss you off too, because let me just say for a minute here, being pissed off has a role. So this is really important, because we've all been raised, not everybody, but majority of women, girls, have been raised to be nice and not to get angry and not, of course, to get pissed off. I want to say that being pissed off, being angry, actually has a very special role today when the world is turning totally and completely upside down, inside out, doesn't make sense anymore, and we've got assholes for leaders. So I think that now is a very important time for us to take a look at this crazy dynamic, all of these factors, and change it, all right? So what was I going to do? I was going to point out some of the statistics. Here are the statistics. I don't know if I should read it. It's kind of boring for me to read it, but maybe it's important for me to share this with you. You can find all of this on my blog, by the way, which is called 18 Summers. So it's inessencecoaching.com/18-summers- and I'll put it in the comments below so that you can access it. Here are the statistics. I'll share them with you anyway. Okay, so in the United States, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that women overall spent an average of 133 minutes in household chores daily, and that's compared to 81 minutes for men. So it's a little less than double, right? And this is in 2013. In households with 2 full-time working families, the gap is a little bit smaller. So this is interesting, that when the woman works outside the home, then the man does step up. So this is a positive thing. Still, however, women spend 120 minutes a day on household activities, so that's 2 hours. And fathers spent around a little over an hour, so 78 minutes on them. Okay, so this trend, it says, it is shifting, so that's super possible. But the burden of household responsibilities in the United States is still shouldered by mothers. Okay, so then we move on to what's happening in the UK. In the UK, the sun's kind of coming at me in a very beautiful way, but makes it hard to read the screen. In the UK, the public policy research think tank shows that 8 out of 10 married women do more household chores. So that's 80% of married women do more household chores, while just 1 in 10 does the equal amount of cleaning and washing as his wife, so 10%. Just over 1 in 10 women, so 10%, say that their husbands do more housework than they do. That's not very much. While only 3% of married women do fewer than 3 hours a week, with almost half doing 13 hours or more. So 13 hours or more a week, that's a little less than 2 hours a day, so that's a little less than what's going on in the United States. But it doesn't say how that compares in the, with what men do, the number of hours that men do. Still, the summary of the article And these numbers that come out of the public policy research think tank say that, gender imbalance is alive as thriving in the British household, and that's a quote. So I look at Canada too, because I'm Canadian, and it says that Canada falls in the middle of all the OECD countries. And it's next to the UK and the US. And it says that 146 daily minutes, so that's a little over 2 hours. Well, yeah, a little over 2.5 hours. Canadian men do more than the OECD average, but still significantly less than women's 248 minutes. Wow, so women in Canada do a lot of housework. Okay, so I just wanted to share those statistics with you because I think that, I'm just stepping out of the sun here. I think that sometimes, and there is a lot to celebrate about feminism, and there is a lot to celebrate about how far we've come. However, I still feel that us women are stuck, and we're not stepping into leadership roles, and we are not, we're not necessarily being promoted, partially because some of us want to step out and to slow down a little bit so that we can be present for our children. And part of it is because we can't, because we are carrying so much of the load. And I really think this is not fair. I write in my blog, I said that overwhelm and exhaustion together contribute to limited professional advancement and consequently leadership roles for women. And that we castigate ourselves for not being present enough for our children, for dedicating ourselves to our career when we are working breadwinning mothers. Then we castigate ourselves as stay-at-home mothers for not being working mothers and being proper feminists, or for not contributing to the household, for using our husband's money, for living off our man. These are kind of things that go through our heads. So I think it's really, really important for us to unravel these conversations that we have with ourselves and to question, the value that what we do has in society. All right, totally lost track of my what I was going to say and just went got on my soapbox. I went going. What I wanted, okay, so this is really important. What ends up happening is that whether you're the breadwinning mama, or one of two breadwinners, or you're the stay-at-home mama, we're castigating ourselves, we're exhausting ourselves, and we're feeling really bad. So here's the point. The point is that is not a way to role model your relationship with yourself, your relationship to the world, your relationship with your partner, to your relationship to anything that you're passionate about. It's not a healthy role modeling. So we often think that we need to do more. If we're the working mama, we think that we need to spend more time with our kids. If we are the stay-at-home mama, it means that we have to do more, maybe do some volunteer work, be PTA. We're always pushing ourselves to do more, and there's this not enough-itis that drives us, this guilt, this should-itis that drives us to do more, to do more, to do more. Also, feeding that is the fact that we're in a very achievement-oriented society, at least, in North America. This is true, and for much of Europe, too. So we're an achievement-oriented society. This is driving us to do more and to be more, and not just be content with who we are already and what we do already. So what I'm proposing with all these crazy videos and this blog and this movement that I'd really love everyone to get on board, this Stress Less, Love More movement that I'd love everyone to get on board, is that the good mother is one that has a loving relationship with herself, period. So it's a woman who knows herself, who accepts herself, who loves herself, who is nourishing her heart and her soul. And that, it doesn't matter whether she's working and making money, or if she's volunteering, or if she's, the domestic goddess. It doesn't matter which path she chooses. What matters is that she has a really solid relationship with herself, because that's what we want to role model. We want to role model someone who knows themselves, who articulates, and who is in alignment with their values in their talk, in their actions, in their choices. Okay, so that's the big message that I'm trying to get across here. So, it's kind of a call for mothers to kind of step into themselves. That's really what this is all about. And I want to hear from you. about your relationship with yourself. If you're a working mama, about your relationship with mothering. If you're a stay-at-home mama, your relationship with mothering. I want to hear how these statistics make you feel. How do these, the fact that we are still carrying a bigger part of the burden, how does all of that make you feel? Am I pissing you off? What pisses you off about your motherhood experience or about the motherhood experience that you observe in other people? What annoys you? What turns your crank? Or not turns your crank, what pisses you off? I'd love to hear. So please share your comments below. And next week, same time, same place, I'm going to hop on and I'm going to share a little bit more about warrior mamas and why I think we need to embrace the tender, embrace the soft, but also embrace our inner strength in order to make a little bit of change happen in this crazy world.